Hiya. Right at the start of lockdown, I bought this bare root rose, which is called Virgo, and I potted it up into just this small pot without much thought as to how it would grow in the future. I bought another one, but unfortunately that didn't make it. So anyway, what I plan on doing with this one, because it has turned out to be an absolute gorgeous rose. It's a small shrub rose, it's not a climber or anything like that, although it will get up to about 7 foot given enough time. For the time being, I want to keep it in this pot just here. Now, as you can see, this is old compost, but as we've all been struggling to get hold of compost, and quite honestly, why waste it? You know, it's perfectly good compost. All it's going to need for something that's as heavy a feeder as this rose is a little bit extra. So what I've got here is Empathy After Plant Rose Fruit. Now, as you all know, I am a big lover of Empathy, and I am a big lover of mycorrhiza. It's incredibly good stuff. It helps the plant's roots bond with the soil and extract more out of the soil than it would do without it. And the fungus, of course, gets the plant's ability to photosynthesize, so it's a symbiotic relationship. You know, one helps the other out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add this. And what does it say on the back? Let's feel. Right. I'm going to read through all of this wonderful gubbins on the back and find out how much I need to add to a container that size in order to make this rose happy. Okay, we have been joined by Phil Cat. Say hello, Phil. Phil, say hello. No, okay, fine. Basically, having had a quick read, it says 1 to 2 handfuls, or 25 to 50 grams per rose bush. That's what it says down there. So it's not a hugely accurate. You know, it's not like you're going to kill it if you give it too much, which is always a good thing, really. I'm going to empty this out a little bit because this is quite a big pot, isn't it? Yes, Phil doesn't care. So I'm going to empty that out a little bit, work some of this stuff into the soil, and then pop it in. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of granular. It's almost just like the soil itself. And it has a very rich sort of smell. I don't know what the smell would be. It's almost like Bovril. Sort of a beefy smell. That's the best way of describing it. It's certainly not unpleasant. And it's quite nice to the touch. You kind of want to squish it around. But I'm going to stop playing with it and use it. When you're planting something like a rose in a big container like this, before you actually get your rose out of its original container, it's always good to check that the height you've got your compost set at is the correct height. Now, okay, that's slightly on the wonk because I'm trying to do it one-handed, but the inside compost level is going to be at about there. So that's where we want it to be. We don't want it right up to the top, and because what will happen if we've got it right up to the top, when we go to water, there'll be no room for the water, and it will spill straight over the side, and it won't go down into the soil, and it won't get absorbed by the plant. So you want at least, in a pot this size, you want at least sort of this length between the top and the top of the soil. Okay, so we've got the rose out and it's now in the pot, and as you can see, it's sat level with this lip. Now we can bring this soil level up a little bit. Got lots of conifer sheddings all over this. I've got lots of conifer trees and they just shed everywhere. But it does gently acidify the soil. Now, you can see where I've had it in its previous pot, it wasn't central. So what I've managed to do is I've managed to place it in this bigger pot so that the main stem is actually central to the rest of it. It's a very, very small little thing, but it just gives me pleasure that it's central. I've mixed 1 handful of the mycorrhiza in the base. Other products are available. Obviously, you don't have to go for empathy. It's just I like them. There are other manufacturers of mycorrhiza, and I have put another 2 handfuls in the soil that will be returning. You can see here in the old compost there has been what looks like eggs, but they're not eggs. It's called Osmocote, and it's a slow release granular feed. And because this is old compost, what you'll find is there'll be very little left inside there. You can see that white stuff. That's the granular feed coming out on my finger, but to be fair, that's probably not a lot. So you get the yellow and the green, and the yellow has a slightly different makeup, and yeah, there you go. You can just about see, if I can get the camera to focus, that there's a small amount of grain, but not a lot. Anyway, there you go. So I put another 2 handfuls of the empathy, which contains feed and also contains the mycorrhiza, into this lot because I have small hands. So 25 grams to 50 grams isn't going to be a lot for me. Okay, so we've popped it in, we've straightened it up a little bit, and we've put the compost pretty much level with the lip. I can just see there's a little bit still there that needs a bit in, just to level it off. Now this compost is really dry, despite the fact that the actual rose itself is sitting in wet compost. If we leave it as it is, the dry compost will draw all of the moisture out of its own compost, and it will end up basically desiccating what is already quite a battered rose, because if you look, it's had sawfly and it's had caterpillar damage and all sorts, despite the fact that it's flowering beautifully. And it does have this wonderful plummy tint to its new foliage and new flower coming, so it needs a bit of love. What you can also see down at the base here is obviously this particular stem here has died back. This is never going to do anything. You can see when they've grafted it, they've covered it in this wax. They basically just dip it in the wax. So this stem here we can remove altogether. And now when you're cutting stems back, you really, if you can, want to get the secateurs that way round, so that the anvil is going on the dead side. So this part here is the anvil, and the blade is going on the plant side. That's because the anvil damages and the blade cuts cleanly. So if you put your clean cut on the base of the plant, there you go, and even though that bit's dead, it won't actually damage the plant any further. Now this, I'm uncertain about this part. It might put out new growth. I'm not going to cut it off for the time being, because just to be on the safe side. This section here is obviously putting out lovely new growth, and this section here is obviously putting out lovely new growth, and down here this section is putting out new growth, so it's fine. I've just got to hold on and see what happens with that. I'll just water it in and lift the hefty water up, and what I want is I'll water it first to get it wet, which sounds daft, but when compost is this dry, it won't retain the water, it will come straight out. So first of all I will water to get it wet, and then I'm going to leave it half an hour, and then I'm going to water so that the plant actually gets the water, and that's it.